Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed. I am your co-host. Today we are talking about Pakistan versus Australia, the Benoit Qadir Trophy. The first test has concluded. It's been more than 24 hours. We actually had this predictedly. We thought there was going to be a day 5, and that's why this podcast is a day late. But we should have known better. I have with me, as always, my co-host, my brother, Bashar Sayed.
The actual problem is I didn't predict day 4, so I thought we were going to shoot on day 3.
Oh,
But actually, the game went till day 4, so it was just a lag in scheduling and recording the podcast.
how are you supposed to schedule any of these test match? Because this many of these podcasts will probably not even the test matches. I mean, probably won't even see all 5 days. And if that's the case, then do we schedule on the day 4? And if we schedule day 4 and then miraculously we end up on day 5, what do we do? It's a logistical nightmare.
I mean, the boys are getting paid for 5 days, but they're only working for 4 days. So always work smart.
Look busy, do nothing.
LBDN.
Yes. We are going to be diving deep into that first test match. There is a lot of stuff to talk about, but at the same time, did anyone expect anything differently? I am genuinely asking this because the score is in front of us. 360 runs short. Pakistan all out 89 in the 4th innings. We'll go innings by innings. But is there anything that we expected different, Bashar? Is this a surprise to you? Is this exactly what you thought was going to happen? Or is this an overachievement on Pakistan's part?
You know, I'm sort of a hopeless romantic when it comes to the Pakistan cricket team. I'm in love with this team and these players, this country. And I sort of expected the game to finish in 3.5 days. I was expecting actually an innings defeat. So for the game to go to the 4th day, for us to bat twice, for us to get 15 wickets in the match as a bowling unit, that I think is a huge accomplishment. I was not expecting that sort of a bowling performance. And especially considering that 11 of the 15 wickets we took were by the debutants. And I think that's sort of a story of its own. But I think, yeah, despite the poor performance, I am sort of happy that the boys have shown some resistance, at least the first 3 days. The second innings batting was just horrific. It's one of the Pakistan's lowest scores in recent times. And that just shows you how well they bowled Australia as a bowling unit and how badly we played them. I mean, obviously the Perth pitch deteriorated. So that sort of, the Perth pitch deteriorated. So didn't really help too much.
I think I'm going to push back on that. I don't think this was a good performance by any stretch of any imagination. The fact that the debutants took 11 out of the 15 wickets, like you said, it's a story on itself, but it's a harrowing story if you're a Pakistan cricket fan. If you're a Shaheen Afridi fan, if you're a fan of the captain of the white ball team, that's red flags everywhere. We'll talk about that in a second. I just think that Pakistan was capable of taking 20. That's the thing that's actually upsetting me in this situation is that they were able to take 20. They were just bowling horrendously. In the first innings bowling, the first session was just unwatchable as a Pakistan cricket fan, as a fan of fast bowling. I was just in awe of how horrible we were bowling. No line in length, no precision, no attacking points. It wasn't after lunch and some blood sugar went into these players that they came back with some sort of a plan. It was better after session 2 and session 3. After day 1, I would say the bowling did get better. You know, shout outs to Amir Jamal. What a talent. I think I've been a fan of his since his crazy last over that he defended 9 runs off. It was in New Zealand or England, I believe. England in T20s. He should have been a staple since then. This was about early this year, last year.
This is last year.
Last year. And I think he should have been in the team since then. Like, how many times are we going to consecutively invest in Fahim Ashraf? I think whatever the dividends payout was supposed to be for him, it's been paid out. We're not going to get anything more than we've already got from Fimu. I think it's time to give him a rest. I think it's time to go all in on Amir Jamal. He's a great talent. He's fierce. Like, he has that fast bowling mindset, and that first innings shows you he went for plenty of runs, but it was his debut. He wanted to make a mark. 6 on debut. You know, props to him.
I mean, if you want to contain runs in Australia, you can just play Mohammed the Boss. But the reason why we've been losing matches and why we lost this match is because as a bowling unit, you can take 20 wickets. So for Amir Jamal to come on debut, take 6, and bowl with aggression. His first spell, he was sort of wayward all over the place, but I think second spell, third spell, he sort of found his rhythm and he looked like probably one of the most like the dangerous bowlers of Pakistan. Once he got his Lyon length right, like the bolt he got for Alex Carey, that's the length that they should have bowled all day long. Top of off stump, length deliveries. When they did get it right, they got wickets. And I just think Amir Jamal, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I've been advocating for him to play for Pakistan more regularly, for him to get more opportunities, more chances compared to Fahim Ashraf, because Fahim Ashraf has just gotten so many chances at this point. And players like, Amir Yamin or Amir Jamal, they've missed out on more opportunities to showcase what they could potentially do. We've seen a lot of what Fahim can do. He's sort of a stock bowler, might be economical, doesn't really get a lot of wickets. And as a batsman, he'll score an odd 30 or 20 here and there. So I think if that's what he's producing, why not go for other guys who are just as good, if not better, just if you give them the opportunity. And Amir Jamal has an incredible story. I was just hearing him speak on Channel 7 and also some of his other interviews. And his story goes like this. He played for Pakistan under 19 in 2014, 2015, and does not play any professional cricket for 4 years after that. So a guy like him sort of just gets lost, not even in the system, he's out of the system. And in 2018, he finally makes his first class debut. He goes to Australia in the similar time frame. He plays some great cricket in Sydney, and he comes back to Pakistan. He is the eldest of his house. So to support his house, he gets a car on lease, starts driving, I think, an Uber or a Careem, and his schedule is the following. So 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the morning, he is driving the Uber, and then he's doing net practice from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then he's driving the taxi again from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., and to end the day off, he does some fitness and gym training 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So that's a hectic schedule.
It's the grind.
It's the grind. It's the struggle. And I think every player who plays Test cricket, there is years and years of hard work, determination, resilience to get to this stage. So I'm so happy that he's done so well on this stage now.
No, I did not know that about his story. And, a lot of people, and especially in this part of the world, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, they have a similar story like this. They always wanted to play cricket. There were hurdles, but they overcame their hurdles. Like, I feel like every other guy could potentially be a really, really good sports movie if we have that kind of media outlet, if we had that kind of infrastructure in our arts in Pakistan. This would have been a great story. Just the fact of how he made it through. That's, generally touching, but at the same time, I think the thing that's sort of upset me about the cricket, especially the bowling department for Pakistan, Amir Jamal, his standout debut on its side, Khurram Shahzad in the second innings bowled so well that it pissed me off about the way that he was bowling in the first innings. That ever happened to you? Someone outperforms themselves so much that you're like, where was this guy when I needed him before? And 487 was the total that Australia put on the board in the first innings. I genuinely think Pakistan could have restricted them for 350. There was a moment where Amir Jamal, if he had gotten his length where it was supposed to be, and Khurram Shahzad gotten his length where it was supposed to be, I think they were capable. That duo was capable of restricting them for 350s. At the same time, you have Safi dropping stumps. You have unattacking fielding, defensive fielding.
The drop catch from Abdullah Shafiq.
Abdullah Shafiq is dropping people left and right. That wasn't really as, it didn't really bite Pakistan as bad as it should have. Osman Khwaja only added 20 more, I think, off that and then got out again. But it just goes to show that 487, it's too much. And once that's your first innings total, what are you going to do? You're going to come back and score 400 against an Australian bowling attack that is maybe the best in Test matches, definitely the best in the world, but maybe one of the greatest in a very long time that we've seen. That three-pronged bowling attack with Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins, give me a better threesome.
We haven't seen a better fast bowling trio
in a very long time.
In the last 10 years. And
Genuinely.
then you add Nathan Lyon, who has 500 wickets now.
They're going apparently.
I think this is one of the most formidable bowling attacks we've seen in Test cricket in the last 10 to 15 years. And this is not an overstatement. Just the record that these guys have, the amount of matches they've played. And it's just, there's no let up, It's Stark and Hazelwood opening the bowling attack. It's Cummins' first change. It's Nathan Lyon coming on. And if they don't get you, Mitch Marsh will.
I want to talk about that because
Before we go to Babar, let's talk about...
No, Babar. I just want to talk about how we again let a number 6, number 7 come out and score like a 50, 80, 90 again. And that's what's hurting us.
But Pakistanis are just nice people, and Mitchell Marsh's Perth is his home ground. And
I get it.
The commentators kept saying he's a local hero. So what better way for the Pakistanis to welcome him at home than to let him score 90 off 107 balls, 15 fours, 1 6. And oftentimes, this is the sort of the period where the Pakistani bowlers and fielders, they're tired, they're fatigued, their body language is down. And that's when that sort of an innings by Mitch Marsh just further demoralizes you. And we just never got to see that same intent from any Pakistani batsman. Maybe aside from Shan Masood. Yes, there is an argument that their bowling attack versus ours, it's poles apart, right? Yeah. But yeah, it was just crazy for him to come in and to keep smashing all around.
Warner goes for 162, I believe.
164.
164. Which hole do you think Mitchell Johnson is hiding in?
Yeah, I've been following that drama. It's pretty crazy because I listened to his podcast. I heard about what he said. I heard about David Warner's response, George Bailey's response.
Why is George Bailey in this?
Because he's the chairman of selectors.
I see.
And basically, I think they have some personal grudge. Mitchell Johnson basically said that David Warner is sort of he's a convicted cheater. He cheated with the whole sandpaper incident, and he shouldn't be given the luxury to retire at his will, right? And especially, he's been calling his retirement since before the Ashes. So, how do you know you're going to make runs in the next few series and then sort of retire at your own will, at your convenience, if you want to say? And I just think David Warner and then Mitch Johnson have something personal going on. And then
reminds me very much of Hafiz and Amir.
Yeah.
I mean, convicted cheater, convicted criminal. He doesn't really know what to do about his retirement. It's sort of like a hero nonetheless. And, statements left and right and center. Enjoy.
David Warner, I think he just knew that, Pakistan's coming in. They're going to have a weak bowling attack. Ricky Ponting said that the last time Pakistan toured, he thought that was the worst bowling attack. But then he thinks that now it's even worse in this tour. So, just Pakistan's weak bowling attack. David Warner, I think, has 20 out of his 27 on hundreds in Australia. So he's a tough guy to get out at home. So probably he knew that it's going to be an easy series, scores tons of runs, and then signs off in Sydney.
I mean, yeah, and that's exactly what happened. With the 164 was a master blaster. Almost played a run a ball at one point.
77 strike rate, 16 fours, 4 sixes, and the craziest shot was the one against Shaheen.
Yeah, the scoop.
What is that?
No idea.
It's a proper length delivery on the fourth stump, and the man goes on one knee and just scoops it over fine leg for 6.
Yeah, the knee that, Shaheen would kill to have at this point because he's definitely struggling. We'll talk about that. Pakistan make 271 in response. Imam's 200 ball 62. Want to talk about that?
I watched that.
Greatest innings of all time or what?
No, it's actually lots of talks. Hashtag Pakistan. All but numbers, the way that Imam scored cut shots, edges, side. So ironic how balls flat out.
I wonder if he had just played that same ball with the line, maybe he would have gotten something on the bat.
That ball actually, it spun more and it had a bit more flight, which is why I think he got beaten.
That's totally fair, but he was also going against the spin, which I would never recommend against Lyon. Like he's especially with that Perth pitch, which was doing numbers on day 2, day 3, day 4. Day 4 was insane. Like if you see what was happening, it was like you have to legitimately survive. They were bowling bullets at you. Even the Pakistani bowlers got Smith and Khwaja and Labuschagne. They were hurt genuinely because the ball was uneven bounce. It was bouncing so high off of the length that even Babar's out in the fourth, when the Babar's dismissal in the 4th innings, like it gloved him. It didn't even hit his bat. And you know where the middle of the bat is. Babar really finds that quite often, that high. And at that moment, when I saw that ball, and I watched it live, I was like, oh God. Like same ball, if you had to cut that, maybe he would have gotten 2, but he went for a 4 or a 6 and completely beaten. And it looks even worse when he played 199 balls. 199 deliveries later, you still are unable to read the spin, the curvature, the bounce, the way that the ball is going to move away, and completely beaten. No way that he was going to make it back.
That's the same issue that I have with Abdullah Shafiq. He played, like, he got 42 off 121 balls. You're set. You got your eye in.
You played 20 overs, right? At this point, this is a whole T20 match. What more do you need to be more stable on the crease? That's my question.
And the ball's older. The bowlers are a bit more tired. And this is sort of your opportunity to capitalize, start scoring runs. And just not converting those starts, it's going to hurt Abdullah Shafiq. I hope he learns from this, and in the next games to come, he'll capitalize.
The worst thing about the first innings, let's talk about it. Saifi's wicket. Off stump ball, swings back in, good length delivery, clearly beaten, wickets cartwheeling. What do you think about that?
So before the test match, there was a lot of debate on the Holder Rizwan versus Sarfaraz. Sarfaraz missed a few catches that should have been regulation keeper catches. Maybe you can say he's old. His reflexes are getting old, getting slower. And just to top that off, his performances in this match missed a stumping and then just basically a no-show with the bat. And he's sort of become Mitchell Stark's bunny. I think he's gotten him out like 6 or 7 times at this point.
Twice in this game.
Yeah. So he definitely struggling against the left arm pacer who's bringing it in or even taking it away off the seam, because the first innings he got out in swing bowled. Second innings was sort of the scramble seam that went away. He got nicked off. So he's struggling, and with the pressure of Rizwan right behind him, he's going to have a tough time the next few test matches.
What is it? Is it just age? Is it just, he's had it. It's been enough. Is it actually genuinely tough to play in Perth and Australia? What is it about the conditions that are setting him up for failure?
Well, actually, if you look at it, I think I mentioned this in the Why is Pakistan So Terrible in Australia podcast, that Sarfaraz Ahmed has toured Australia as part of Pakistan's test squad the most times. 2010, 2016, and then the
1920?
This series.
Not 1920?
No. I don't think he played any matches. Rizwan was playing. So this is his 3rd test tour, and many ODI tours and T20 tours in the middle, and still not being able to understand the conditions and adapt to them. And sort of Sarfaraz is your best wicketkeeper batsman from the first class circuit. So that just shows you maybe how flat and dead the surfaces in Pakistan have been, where a little bit of bounce and pace and our batsmen are just no-shows.
I mean, we talk about this all the time. The first class circuit in Pakistan needs an overhaul, and not just on the structure of it all, but genuinely the way that first class is being played. The grounds, the staff, the pitches, the broadcasting, all of that has to be like, you got to pump money in that.
It seems like somebody's recording some of the footages on a dash cam.
Genuinely.
720p.
I think that was a criticism, and then they actually got like a real camera crew in there to start filming it. But the early
I want
stuff
speed guns. I want to see how fast these guys are bowling, because the Pakistan's pace bowling and their speed, aside from their accuracy, is another big point of concern. And I saw a stat from Fox Sports where they showed Pakistan's average pace from each tour. 2016-17, the average pace was 139 kilometers.
Who was in that tour?
That was Amir, Wahab, I believe Rahat Ali, Sohail Khan.
It was a good bowling attack.
Decent. 2020-21 was 135 kilometers. And that, I think, was Mohammad Abbas, Naseem Shah probably helped bring it up.
Shaheen?
Shaheen was there. Imran Khan Sr. was there. And it was 135. And then this series, from the first innings that happened, the average pace was 132 kilometers.
Has Fahim cracked the 130s at all in this test match?
Maybe a few balls here and there, but he's typically around the 128, 130.
So that when somebody asked a good question, not on the Patreon or anything, but just in general. If Fahim is bowling you 120s on a pitch like this, then what's wrong with Mohammad Abbas?
Well, Fahim, you're expecting him to add some runs as well down the order. And Abbas can't get you that.
Fair enough, but maybe Abbas could get you the line and length, the shoebox thing that they were talking about in Fox cricket. Maybe he gets you that. Maybe he gets you a few quick wickets.
Maybe, but I think they were looking at Abbas's stats in Australia the last series, and he just got smashed all over the place by Warner. I mean, he's bowling like, if Fahim is bowling 128, 130, Abbas is more like 125.
122.
And that's his first spell.
That's wild.
Spell 2, spell 3, he's 120. Sarfaraz is up the stumps, and it's ridiculous at that point.
I see what you mean.
I just think the more focus needs to be on the accuracy, on that shoebox length. And a lot of the dismissals that the Australian bowlers got in test matches, it has to be the setup, right? You ball 3 balls back of a length, and then you ball the 4th one, a fuller delivery. That's exactly how Stark got Sarfaraz in the first innings, right? 3 or 4 balls that were short of a length, and then the 4th one was full, in swinging, caught him off guard, gets him out. Our bowlers were not able to set up batsmen. They weren't able to bowl in the right areas consistently for as long as they should have. And the most disappointing of all of them was Shaheen Afridi. He looks tired. He looks fatigued. He looks like his workload is off the charts. And to consider that he's just been announced as Pakistan's Test vice captain, and he's also the captain of our white ball cricket. Plus, he's playing all of these leagues in the world. He has, as of now, signed up for the ILT20, then it's the PSL, then it's the England series, then it's the T20 World Cup, and then he's going to probably go play the Vitality Blast, the 100, and then probably more cricket anywhere he can find it. And he's just 24 years old, getting overworked, struggling from his knee. I think his pace is down year over year. His wickets are down. His average is up. So all of those things that you don't want from your premier fast bowler.
Yeah, generally. I think we'll talk about more about Shaheen in a bit. But the one thing that really stood out to me in this first couple of innings was that the Fox Cricket actually had a graphic for the quote unquote shoebox length, where they could actually take Hazelwood's bowling and put it in a, I want to say, foot by
a couple of meters,
and put it in like a little box and be like, this is where Hazelwood's been bowling consistently. They were unable to do that for Pakistani bowlers. Pakistani bowlers were so wayward. They showed a pitch map of where they were bowling. It was short, it was good length, it was full, and then it was good length again, and then it was short again. Like, no idea what they needed to do. And it wasn't even like good length or short on 4th stump. It was like there was a short ball that Amir Jamal bowled to Warner, I believe. It was like
down the leg side
itself, but there was one that was like over his head on like he could cut that for 6 if he wanted to. That's how wayward and far they were bowling. And what really pissed me off, especially in the 4th innings, 3rd innings, yes, was that Pakistan kind of had Australia in a bundle. First 10 overs, 8 runs or 12 runs, something crazy like that.
Under 10
runs. 2 wickets down, balls zipping, zapping, doing everything. Pakistan, Khurram Shahzad and Amir Jamal finally find their length. They're like, oh, I get it. This is what we're doing. And Shaheen Afridi as well. Like his 3rd inning spell was one that I was like, there he is. You know, that's what Shaheen we're looking for. First in comes Fahim is like bowling wayward, giving them so much room. They're cutting and slashing it for 4. All the pressure out, gone. What's all that about?
Yeah, it's poor length, and then you mentioned correctly, it's the poor line as well. I mean, when Shaheen was bowling the first innings, it felt like he was trying to bowl in the 100, going for Yorkers back to back, too full, too short, too wide, down the leg side.
No patience at all to actually stick with the game plan. Give me like at least 3 overs and a consistent line and length, and tell me that doesn't work for you.
I want to talk about how also it's such a pleasure watching cricket in Australia. Like the broadcast is so amazing.
Yeah.
Did you watch the clip of where Warner was mic'd up with the Spawn Quadra?
Yes.
Like the detailed insights you got from his innings, like when he was on 99, he said the next ball is going to be short 100%. Guess what it was? Short ball, taps it to third man, gets 200. So just those insights you get, plus just the commentators, the analysis, the graphics, I think that's just what enhances the experience of watching cricket in Australia, also in England and New Zealand.
Definitely. A shout out to Fox Cricket. They're doing an amazing job. It's kind of refreshing not seeing a Star Sports production and actually seeing somebody else go out and be like, this is how we shoot cricket as well.
But Ravi Shastri's there.
That's fine. You know what? Honestly, Ravi Shastri has been quite neutral. And he's been quite balanced. He's been a good commentator. I actually rate him quite highly this season.
It's also good to have him because he was the coach of the Indian team when they won the series here. So he knows the ingredients of what it takes.
And then that starts becoming annoying because then you have a mid-innings break and they're talking about the brilliance of Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
How can you not?
Give me a break. Just give me a break. That's all I'm asking for. I want one series, one cricketing event where we don't discuss something that is not happening in the game. Like we have to go out and we have to bring out like Ravi Shastri talking about Virat Kohli. Like I get it. He was one of the great coaches who actually had a significant win in Australia. Credits to him. But this is Pakistan. This is Australia. I get there's a dead rubber game. There's not much happening. But you as a commentator, as a presenter, have to make something from nothing, right? And if you got to keep revolting back to what Kohli is doing and what he did, it rubbed me the wrong way.
So imagine like Ramiz Raja going to the India versus South Africa test match in South Africa.
And talking about Babar's 196.
Yeah.
What an innings, bro. Like awesome. You draw the game. Beautiful. Whatever.
Do you want to talk about Babar now? A lot of eyes on him, his first test match since
Before that, I want to talk about
Sure.
what Taimur had to say about the pitch, because this was generally something that I was also wondering. He asks from the Patreon, given how much the pitch deteriorated, do you think batting first would have made a noticeable difference? And I think it would. Maybe Pakistan wouldn't have made 487, but 350, 330?
Optimistic.
If Pakistan made 270 on a day 2, day 3 pitch. Given them day 1, I think they would have done it.
Yeah, maybe.
350 was on the cards. Like, the pitch kept getting worse day by day, right? That's how test pitches are usually constructed. Day 1 and 2 is really great. 2, 3 starts getting worse. 3, 4 is bad. 5 is like, we need a result now. And day 1 batting probably would have made a difference, but if you made 350, they would have made 400, 500 again. So it wouldn't have made much of a difference, but we're pulling at straws here. Like
maybe the margin of defeat could have been lowered less.
Yes. What we lost by 360, maybe we would have lost by 250. We wouldn't have won if that's what we're trying to imply. That wouldn't happen at all. Standout moments from this test match from you?
Amir Jamal, Gaurav Shahzad. Good to see these guys come up the ranks in first class and had some disciplined spells, good areas. They can increase their pace, right training, right diet plan, and at least 5Ks they can bring it up, and that would just further make them good bowlers. And then this is like the toughest cricket can get for you, like all playing test cricket in Australia against Australia. So any challenge after this for them will just be not a piece of cake, but it would be easier.
Yeah, I agree. You think Pakistan won any sessions? Any of the 3 times 4, 12 sessions that they played? Any of them do you think Pakistan was kind of on top? Maybe day 4, 4th inning session 1 when they were bowling, that was quite I tough.
Think a couple of them actually. The one where Amir Jamal had a good spell, like when he got back-to-back wickets, that was a good session for Pakistan. And then when Pakistan came to bat, we had a 74-run opening partnership, which a lot of the people were talking about how solid Abdullah's looking, how Imam is evading the balls. But I think we had a pretty good start. And even when Babar came to bat, Pakistan at one point was 180 for 3. And with Imam and Babar batting, we could have gotten the score up to, 250 or 300 for 3 or 4.
But it was Mitch Marsh.
Mitch Marsh gets him out.
The GOAT. Let's talk about a recurring segment that we have on the podcast called What Happened to Babar Azam? Let me give you some numbers. Babar's last test century was in December 2022 in Karachi against New Zealand. He had 161. good innings. I think he won or drew that game. I don't remember the result of that game, but good knock from Babar, especially in Karachi. He loves batting there. Since then, Babar averages 23 with a high score of 39 in 2023. These are the numbers. Get it? Ready? 24, 27, 13, 24, 39, 21, and 14. What happened to Babar Azam?
Surprising. Shocking. I'm taken aback by these stats. I think so. Out of these 4 test matches, he's played a couple in Sri Lanka, this one in Australia,
and then one in
and one in Karachi. That's the one that's the one that I went to see.
You were there.
Day 5 where Sarfraz scored 100. Yeah, it's just not just this series and this year for Babar stats. I want to say post Asia Cup, or even Asia Cup, barring that one game against India, Babar Azam has been throwing his wicket away. He's not getting out to good deliveries. They're more like soft dismissals down the leg side. He's got caught out. The mid wicket region, caught behind, dabbing the third man, gets bowled. So I don't know what it is. Is it a mental blockage? Is he losing his touch? Because you have to also think about it like this way, right? So when Virat Kohli lost his captaincy, there was a huge slump in his performance, right? And he spoke out after he got back into form that it was a mental barrier for him. There was a period where Virat Kohli had to put away his cricket kit for 30 days, did not touch the bat. And then he comes back before the last T20 World Cup and just looks like a different person altogether.
But that's awareness on Kohli's part, right? He understands mental health. He understands fatigue. He understands, just strain on body and mind. And he understands that if you take time off, that's actually beneficial. Like if you're burning out, like we kind of were sort of burning out during the World Cup because we were doing so many pods. And we just took a week and a half off. And then we came back. We were reinvigorated, re-energized, wanted to talk about cricket again, wanted to watch cricket again. Who's going to tell Babar Azam that he needs to take some time off?
There's a lot of insecurity in Pakistan cricket. You miss one series, someone else comes in your place, performs, and suddenly you're in the back burner. People aren't talking about you anymore. And I think that insecurity, that regardless if you're Babar Azam, if you're Shaheen Afridi, that's always there. And that's why these guys don't want to take any time off.
And why shouldn't there be an insecurity? Today's breaking news with Zaka Ashraf's leaked audio. Him talking so casually about Babar Azam. Oh, I was giving him the opportunity to come. Did you listen to this?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I gave him the opportunity to come. He threw it away. All this scandal. Like he was believing his own conspiracy theories.
And the stupidest part is he doesn't know that Shaheen Afridi is also managed by the same person or same corporation that manages Babar and Rizwan. Psycorps. So
what's the difference, right? So like if a man that's leading the organization that's paying you is so genuinely just so, what's the word I'm looking for? Incompetent, underqualified, nincompoop. Such a nincompoop that if you do want to take some time off, you want to take some rest, like if you're Babar or Shaheen, which you deservedly need like at least 2 to 3 months off, no cricket, just, do that Dubai retreat thing that never happened before the World Cup. Do that. Like you need that. You can't what is the guarantee that you come back and you will get that spot again? He will play 4 again, or he'll play 3 in ODIs, T20. Like who's telling him that? There's no one. He has to stay on and stick through the rough times in public. And I'm not, this is not a cop out for Babar. Like this is Babar's own doing. A lot of the ways that he's gotten out, we've talked about the soft dismissals, things that he could work on. The Mitch Marsh dismissal in the first inning was just horrid. Yeah. Second innings, he got a peach of a delivery. Totally got it. Like that's why I'm not even faulting. That's why we didn't even talk much about the fourth innings. The 89 all out, major collapse. What is there to talk about? But the first innings where he could have actually built an innings and actually built some repertoire, actually got back his confidence, it was necessary.
And he seed off Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, Lyon, only to give his wicket away to Mitch Marsh. I mean, no disrespect to him, but he's sort of a part-time. He's your 5th or 6th bowler, right? He's not your first change as per se. So soft dismissal, maybe it's a lack of focus. And also Babar's not playing first class cricket either. So he's just coming off of an ODI World Cup, and then straight into one tour match and then the test match in Australia.
Yeah, and even the tour match, it was just shaky. He didn't really seem that confident to me. Yeah, I think Babar needs. I don't know. This series was important for him to go through, just as a senior player, as a high marquee player, major talent. It's good for the team morale that someone like that is in the 11. But there really needs to be talk about him setting some matches off and seeing if that actually helps his form or not. If it doesn't, then it's all a moot point. Doesn't really matter. It's something else is going on. But what I genuinely think is going on is it's the mental lapse. The fact that you can see off the 4 toughest bowlers in the game and then give your wicket to a part-timer generally means that you're losing focus, and you have to be razor sharp when you're playing Test cricket in Australia. There's no doubt about it. Yusuf Amir Shamsi has the audacity to ask this, and I'm going to do it because he's a Patreon sub. And Yusuf, this is only for you. He says, "Drop Babar. It's time to move on."
That's a good question, actually, if you think about it.
Shocking that we're even talking about this, but let's do it.
How much does Babar need to flop like series by series for Pakistan to hypothetically be like, yo, this guy, you gotta drop Babar Azam? Our 5th all-time run scorer, probably the 2nd or 3rd most centuries for Pakistan, 49, 48 average, all formats combined. When do you be like, you gotta drop Babar Azam?
When it becomes a liability. Did Pakistan lose this game because of Babar?
Well, he's a senior player. He should
Did
perform.
we lose it because of Babar?
Why did we lose the game?
It was a joint effort, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it was a joint effort.
You've been talking a lot about the Safi, how Safi needs to step up, how he needs to perform.
All right. See, this is we were criticized IRL in real life because of this. From our mom, we shout out to Sanyango, and he was like, "What? Like, why is Safi being so put under a scrutiny, under an hourglass, and Babar gets to walk free?" It's because Safi actually has a genuine replacement that is being sat out, and a quicker, sharper keeper, a better style, not stylish, but more substance-based batsman. He's being sat out. And you know me, I love a Karachi agenda. Like, I need a Karachi agenda in my life. Like, that's what we strive for. But that's the criticism there for Safi. If Safi wants to be in the team, he has to produce runs. And okay, maybe if it was a home series, if this was in Pakistani soil, maybe you could play Safi because he plays spin really well. But this was not the case. And Safi is notorious for being really bad against fast bowling. Like, he's a good spin player. That's why he's a good middle order batsman, but he's really not it for fast bowling. And
so you're saying horses for courses. And if I want to add to that, I would say Sarfaraz's responsibility when the scorecard comes up is wicket keeper, batsman. So
yes.
The question is Sarfaraz Pakistan's best wicket keeper right now?
No.
From a pure wicket keeping standpoint, I feel like Rizwan is a much better keeper, and Rizwan's stats in Sena countries, as well as just in Australia for the 4 innings he's played, they've been decent. He's a fighter, right?
And that's why the criticism on Safi is so severe. Now, for Babar, who do you have a number 4? There we go. Boom. End of conversation. Yusuf, nice try. I see you trying to stir some controversy at backward point, but you know what? We let it slide. The second segment that I have, the second recurring segment that we kind of touched upon briefly before, but we need to talk about it, is what happened to Shaheen Afridi. Because let me give you some more numbers for SSA here. Averaging 49.5 this year and only taking 8 wickets in all test matches that he's played. Last year he averaged 31 with 13 wickets, and in total he's averaging 40 in the past 2 years with around about 21, 22 wickets in total. And just a no-show. Like today, in this whole test match, he took 2 wickets. What's going on? Did he take a wicket in the second innings? He took a wicket of last ball, Khwaja. Yeah, he took Khwaja's wicket in the last ball. But that's when Cummins declared. But what's going on with him? Is it the knee? Is it the same thing with the mental lapse? Is it too much workload? Is it fatiguing? Because I was reading a tweet by Arham Latif on Twitter, great mind, great cricketing mind as well. He talked about, and he also watches a lot of like NBA, MLB, and we know a lot of people in our audience are cross-pollinating with those sports as well. In NBA, you get 8 severe seasons, 8 severe months of like proper like basketball, and you get 4 months off. Right? So you have a Giannis, you have Steph Curry, you have all these big LBJ. They all get time off. Months, 120 days, 150 days. And then if you're a Kawhi Leonard, you get time off during the season as well to get ready for the playoffs. So In a situation like that, a Pakistani bowler like Shaheen Afridi gets 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, a month off. Nobody gets the proper time that they need, like they do in NBA, like they do in the MLB, because all these games, even the Premier League, there are months stacked off that your body can recuperate. There's so much physical strain on your body when you're in professional sports that you do need that sort of a window to just ease off, chill out. Pakistani bowlers are not getting that, especially Shaheen Afridi, who notoriously has been bowling one of the highest. He's bowled one of the most bowls or most overs in cricket since his debut.
I think it was at the age of 20.
At the age of 20. And the second number bowler
was Rabada, 334.
Yeah, and there was a 400 over difference between how many overs Shaheen had bowled and how many Rabada had bowled.
And Naseem Shah was also on the same list.
Of course, because we're working them out. We're breaking these players. These players have bodies like they're 32, 33-year-old bowlers when they're in their early 20s. This should be their peak. The curve should be like this. We should be riding up on the curve, not going down on the curve. And a lot has to be said about the way that Shaheen wants to be back, the insecurity thing that we talked about. Can't sit out because there's genuinely like people coming in and trying to take his place. We get it. But if we want to cater to these bowlers, we have to make a decision.
I think let's just compare. Let's do a quick study of, let's say, Pakistan's prime bowler, which is Shaheen, versus Australia's prime fast bowler, which is Stark. Now, Stark only plays key test matches, or he plays all test matches, but he only plays like key ODIs. He oftentimes misses a lot of T20 series. He has, consciously stepped away from putting his name in the IPL auction for many, many years.
That's a lot of money he's put on the table.
Exactly. But at the same time, he is being compensated accordingly by Cricket Australia, by his sponsors. Shaheen, on the other hand, because he's from Pakistan, he firstly is being overworked. Like we find this one bowler and then we play him in every single game possible, even if it's a dead rubber. We did the same thing with Mohammad Amir when he came back from his ban, and we broke him as well, which is why he retired. Part of the reason was that. And we're doing the same thing now with Shaheen Afridi. Now, the thing with Shaheen is, because he's Pakistani, he's from Pakistan, they don't get paid as handsomely as maybe an English player, an Indian player, an Australian player. He needs to play all formats plus all the leagues to sort of make the most of his prime years.
I agree with that. But then with the new payment model that the PCB has set up, him, Rizwan, and Babar are getting paid what? 50 lakhs a month?
Yeah, so I think it's about
come on, bro.
$33,000 Canadian a month.
Come on. That's 25K USD a month. Come on. You're not telling me that's enough for now, at least for you to take some time off.
That's just your salary plus match fees, travel allowance, daily allowance, sponsors.
It's enough for me to say that you can take 3 months off, right? But you can't take 3 months off because it's a World Cup year. It's a T20 World Cup year. He's the captain. What is he going to take time off of?
This series ends, and then he goes to New Zealand for 5 T20Is, and then it's the PSL, and then we go to England for, I think, 4 more T20Is, and then it's the World Cup.
Yeah. So, like, where's the time off? Maybe this series was the time off. Maybe Haris not playing the series, it's probably best for him.
But he's playing the Big Bash.
It's 4 overs.
Sure.
It's not bad. I get it. You get the money, Haris. It's fine. But test match, the requirements of it. It's crazy. You're out on the field for 5 days, because especially if you're Pakistani, you're bowling so much. You're not even batting enough to like get your bowlers time to recuperate. It's tough. And we've seen it. We've broken Shaheen with this sort of rigorous workload, and it's coming back to bite us because he's wayward. He's genuinely fearful of hurting his knee again. And if that's your mindset, then you're never going to be a top bowler. You're just going to be a above average stock bowler. And that's what Shaheen has resulted himself to. And it's quite evident. It's quite obvious. It's a shame because he should have been Wasim Akram, right? He should have been Wasim Akram. He was quick. He was fast. He was swinging in and out. And it breaks my heart.
Shaheen's priorities were to play I don't want to degrade a T20 World Cup, but his priority when he got injured the first time was to get fit ASAP to play the T20 World Cup. And he rushed his recovery. And the first few games, he didn't look like he was at his best. Eventually, he did get back into rhythm, but he rushed his injury, got injured again, rushed his recovery back for the PSL, and he's just never been the same bowler ever since. I keep saying on this podcast, there's two bowlers: Shaheen pre-injury, Shaheen post-injury, and you can pull the stats up. You'll see differences that are poles apart. So sad to see what Shaheen has become, and I hope if we don't look after him even now going forward, we'll overwork him, we'll break him down, and we don't really have a replacement for him.
Yeah, generally, it's tough. I think we should round this podcast. We should round out this podcast with some great news, some weird news. Nathan Lyon, 500 wickets.
Who would have thought?
Not him. I mean, not me.
Nathan Lyon's first Test wicket was on his first ball that he ever bowled in Test cricket. Was Kumar Sangakkara, edged, caught at slip by Michael Clark, and his 500th wicket is Rana Fahim Ashraf.
We should have known the two. He was going to get the two greatest left arm batsmen out in his span of his career. Let me get some stats out in your way as well. Ready? He's taken 500 wickets. He's only the 8th bowler to do it, 3rd spinner to do it. These are some of the names that he's beaten out on in terms of wickets, in terms of bowlers who've gotten 500 wickets. And then I have a question for you at the end. I promise. He beats out Wasim, Waqar, Imran Khan, Ashwin, Anil Kumble, Dale Steyn, Saeed Ajmal, Sean Pollock, Curtly Ambrose, Tim Southey, Daniel Vittori. Is Lyon greater than all these bowlers?
I think he is the greatest off spinner to play Test match cricket, especially because to be a finger spinner that doesn't have a dusra, he only bowls a stock off spinner. He has some variations with that, but it's just typically the off spinner, right? And his averages home and away are very respectable. Also, considering he bowls with the likes of Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark, for him to even get wickets after all these guys have bowled, that's commendable. And I think the only other spinner that comes into my mind is Ashwin, an off spinner. And Ashwin's stats at home versus away, they're very different, right? So Ashwin's average playing in India is 20. His average away is 30. So there's a 10-run difference between his average, and also the amount of wickets he's taken home and away. It's crazy difference. Whereas Nathan Lyon averages around about 30 both home and away. For an off spinner to be averaging 30 in Australia, where spinners typically struggle, that is commendable. And this is a huge achievement. He used to be a curator for one of the grounds, and to him to actually play Test cricket, to sustain for so long, and now be remembered and the history of Test cricket. I think after Murli Warren, he is the 3rd highest wicket taking spin bowler.
Let me just ask you this to round up, because I genuinely want to know this. Is Nathan Lyon ever going to be in your top 11 when you're making a Test team?
No.
Okay.
I'll probably pick like Murli or Shane Warne as my spinner.
Saeed Ajmal over him.
I would even pick Saklan, bro, because Saklan didn't have the longevity. Like, he only played 49 Test matches. If he had doubled those numbers, like his wickets and his Test matches, he would have been the greatest of all time.
The only reason I ask is because I was listening to Butta Fast, which I again implore everybody to listen to. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and they literally had a 20 to 30-minute segment about, is Nathan Lyon a GOAT? And then they talked about just how many Test matches he's played versus how many Saeed Ajmal has played versus how many Saklan has played, and the disparity between how many, whatever the number of Test matches that Pakistan gets to play in a year or in 5 years versus the top 3. So it's just one of those things I implore everybody to check out. I think it's a good way to round this podcast up. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to be part of the community, please check out the Patreon, check out the Discord servers, check out all of the descriptions below, and sign up. It's the end of the year. We're trying to do a wrap up. We will try our best to make more episodes in the December month. And then the next year is going to be wild. There's so many things coming in for Backward Point. You guys want to be part of it. There's merch coming. There's collaborations coming. Partnerships coming. The World Cup is literally in our backyard. So there's going to be in-person podcasts. You know, maybe we'll go on tour. Who knows? But all I know is that we are trying our best to keep the ante up. And we appreciate the help and support we get from you guys. So thank you very much. And we'll meet you guys back in test match number 2 review. Like there's no way that we're going to be missing out. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you guys soon.
Cheers.